Good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria. I screwed it up like 3 words in.
No, you didn't.
It's Monday. It's
You have
Monday at
to.
9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. Time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing on this almost spring evening?
I'm doing well, man. You give yourself. You're way too hard on yourself. I think you saved it. You had these nice little comedian pauses, and you kept going. It's like, man, no, that works, that works. And then you just call it out. It's like, what are you doing? You don't need to do that. You're all good. Like,
I'm
oh
supposed to be
man,
a robot. I'm supposed to have it perfect every time. Never
oh
fail. That's my
man.
objective.
I
Like,
think
I
I
gotta.
think adding little kind of improv kind of
Yeah,
stuff that
yeah,
you were
yeah.
doing it and it was fine.
I just feel like I have to go back to my whiteboard like weeks without screwing up the intros. Like I gotta set it back to
Oh,
zero, and now I don't know how I feel
oh.
about that.
No, I think your streak of like for when we were doing our stream earlier, like with our first year, whatever, there'd be kind of off and on points where like, you have to click some sort of random button to let me stream on my side, and
Hmm.
that streak I think is flawless right at this point, right? I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
I
think we've
mean,
ever had to, and it's such a minor weird thing. It's like it's not a big of a deal. You just have to
right.
click the button if I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
go to it,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
that's the streak you should be hanging your hat on.
Okay,
So
all right. It's
I
been
think
a
you're.
minute. Yeah, it's been a minute since I've forgotten to set that flag.
See, so your streak is your whatever streak. Put your hang your hat on that streak.
All right,
That's great.
you can.
But the opens are always good.
Okay.
I think you're fine. You know, gosh. You know what else I liked about you? I liked about your open tonight is you used the classic, all-time great line from Ghostbusters. You
Yeah.
had that
Oh yeah.
going
Oh
on
yeah.
top of that. It's like
Absolutely.
you couldn't go wrong. You had everything going until you went, no, look, this is bad. You know?
Okay, so this is a good segue. What are we working on today? And then I'm going to ask you, and this is probably old news, but I don't think I've asked your take, so I'm curious about it.
Hmm.
But what are we working on tonight, or what are you working on tonight, and then I will
All
partially take
right.
credit for.
All righty, let's see here. I'm gonna share my screen so we can talk and hang out and do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay, so last week I had that walk cycle that was from the first view, and that's pretty challenging for me. I'm still working on that one, and I still want to kind of get my head wrapped around it. And for today, I need more of my brain processing power for it, and I'm a little bit hazy today,
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with a scene where I know I can kind of knock this out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm calling the scene 57. It's actually not the right number, but I'm going to use that for uh, flash file purposes. But this scene right here, I'm going to make the assets for this scene.
Okay.
So where she runs in the frame, and something catches her up.
Portal.
She's
Yeah.
something off screen
Yeah.
and turns and looks. So basically, these three poses I'm going to work on tonight and see how far
Okay.
I can get.
Lovely.
That's the
Okay.
intention. And yeah, so what's this thing? What's this opinion you wanted to ask questions
What
about or
What
something?
is your thoughts if you have seen it? What are your thoughts about the? And again, this is stale news for anybody watching, and I apologize, but I actually don't think I have spoken to James about this. What are your thoughts on the new Ghostbusters trailer?
Um, I can't wait to hear your opinion on this too. So yeah, so it's my turn to go first on
I
this.
mean,
Okay.
look, I will go first. I tell you what. Here's what I'll go first rather than like I'm gonna. That was a bad. In improv, you don't ask questions of your scene partner because you put the entire weight on them, unless the
Oh,
scene
so
is necessarily like you need to ask the question, right? Like generally speaking, in improv, asking an unnecessary question is a way of deflecting because you don't have something
mhm.
else to say. So. Rather than going down that tact, I will tell you what I think about the trailer first, and then you can.
Wait, time out
Oh,
one
okay,
second.
okay.
So was I a bad improv actor for throwing the question back at you in this
No,
case?
no, you weren't because I'm the one who breached
Oh,
etiquette first.
okay, all right. I just wanted to. I'm taking mental
No,
notes
no,
here.
no.
Okay,
You
okay.
were you were
So
fine. You were totally fine. Um,
okay,
uh, I kind of liked it,
okay.
and the reason I kind of liked it. So when I saw the trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife, it was like, okay, this is just nostalgia baiting. This is just
Mm-hmm.
like why is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in this movie? There ultimately wasn't a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of I feel like the statute of limitations are gone on this one. Why was the ghost of
Yeah.
Harold Ramis in there? I just, everybody loved it for nostalgia reasons. I have never heard anybody talk about the movie as a movie. Like, this was a good movie. right? The only
Mm-hmm.
context that I hear people talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife is like, oh, what a great tribute to the original movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's not, to me, that's not an endorsement of the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the classic example, let's take Mad Max Fury Road. Everybody loves that movie, not because like, oh, what a great throwback to the original movies. No, it's because Mad Max Fury Road is an amazing movie in its own right, right? But when
Yeah.
I hear people talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's always through the context of a nostalgic lens, right? And,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so it was underwhelming to me, if we're being honest. And I know that's heretical to say among some circles, but
Okay.
because especially given how bad the 2016 reboot was, and it
Mm-hmm.
was. I mean, it was a bad movie. I mean, like all of the weird people who try to bring in sexism or whatever into it. I mean, whatever. They're idiots. I didn't like the movie because it wasn't a good movie, you know,
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah,
which
sure.
is a
Just
shame
funny.
because Kristen Wiig is one of my favorite comedic actors of all
Oh,
time.
Melissa
And
McCarthy's
Melissa McCarthy is just, I mean, like
yeah,
they're just a
yeah.
phenomenal
It's a great
cast,
cast.
and it was just
Yeah,
like, anyway, whatever.
wasted.
That's a whole other
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
this trailer though, I watched it and it was like, wait, I mean, yeah, the original cast is in it, you know, but and which is fine. That you know that's neither here nor there. Um, it looks like a new story in the Ghostbusters universe, and
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
kind of was interesting, like the whole idea of the frost demon or whatever it was. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I saw the trailer and I was like, huh, like, are they actually trying to expand the Ghostbusters mythos a little bit? Like,
Mm.
I was cautiously optimistic about it.
Okay.
Obviously, you and I and everybody has been burned countless a number of times by trailers that promise more than what the movie actually delivers on.
Sure.
So, I don't know, but seeing that initial trailer, I'm like, I don't hate this. Like, I was kind of like, all right, I'm kind of interested to see where you go with this, Ghostbusters. So yeah, that was my take on it. Yeah,
So, all right. So now that I have the talking stick, I guess
yeah, you
to
have the
give
talking
you my
stick.
I
Yeah,
have a talking stick with a talking Wacom pen here
yeah,
right now.
yeah. I had just my regular pen.
Yeah, there we go. Either way. So okay, I'm gonna give you my critique holistically over these past two. The first one, Afterlife, and now this one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's so challenging. It's the nostalgia baiting is definitely there, and I want that
Mm-hmm.
actually because I've been want who hasn't wanted a Ghostbuster sequel for how many years after number two. So there's that. So I want it to be successful, even with the Melissa McCarthy Ghostbusters, whatever they called it.
Sure. I
I
mean, I
want it to
don't
be
want a
good.
movie to fail. I want every movie to
Yeah,
be good. Yeah, always.
yeah. But with that said, the only and then is it Ivan Reitman's son that does it? Jason Reitman? I can't remember his
He
name.
did. He did. I don't think he did the 2016, but he did do. Yeah, Jason Reitman did do Afterlife. Yeah.
But yeah, so Afterlife. So I want him to. I'm rooting for him too because he's part of that lineage of the Ghostbusters
Mm-hmm.
movies in some form or fashion, familial relation. Um, my whole thing is I think they're being a little bit too reverent with the material. They're trying to be too serious with it. And what I loved about Ghostbusters 1 and 2 is it almost felt like it was just a couple levels above a Saturday Night Live skit. Like they
Mm-hmm.
had a little bit more money and they could make their Saturday Night Live skit about this crazy idea of ghost busting. And so there was it felt more cavalier towards how they did everything. I almost felt like there was improv sort of in some
Mm-hmm.
moments, maybe because Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd are naturally just funny people.
Yeah.
The whole cast was like, and I feel like now it's measured and it's too serious, and they have a great cast still, but yet it's just it's too Hollywoody, for me. When I watched Afterlife, I was so impressed with McKenna Grace, the actress that plays the granddaughter of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Egon. Phenomenal. She carried and it was kind of weird how at least for me, the whole movie was carried on her little shoulders. Like the kid would carry the whole movie. But it's still it was just too serious for me. I just wish it had the campiness the Ghostbusters 1 and 2 had. Like, just even how we started our stream, like you have that line, it's iconic, it lives
Oh
forever.
yeah.
I can't give you one line from Afterlife where I'm going, ah, ha, ha, and it's so funny. Like, it doesn't, you don't get that. Or like Sigourney Weaver's line where she says something like to the point, and I'm paraphrasing, but you remind me of a game show host, and like it cuts to Bill Murray, and it's just see,
Yeah.
and you're laughing. Like, there's a natural, it's just there's something about it that essence and that energy, it's lacking in Afterlife. So when I watch the trailer, so this is a really long-winded. So you always beat yourself up for being long-winded. I'm being long-winded.
Oh, you're fine.
This is just leading up to the trailer for this one. This what's it called?
Oh,
Frozen
God.
Empire.
Yeah, that's
I think
right.
it's Frozen. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? When I first watched it, I felt like I was watching the sequel to Warcraft. Frozen
Throne.
like watching Frozen
Yeah.
Throne and watching the Lich
The
King come back
expansion.
to life.
Yeah.
I felt like, oh man, I hate to say this, that it's not fair to compare a PC game, to this trailer, but it was like the Frozen Throne all over again. Yeah, we've got this ultimate Lich King baddie that's going to come in, and he's the worst one now. And I know they got to go somewhere with it. I like the idea. I guess I like the idea that, oh, all of our ghosts we ever caught, according to the trailer, we have to catch them again, kind of thing. There's that. But there was not one time that I laughed, that I go, and like laugh. I was happy to see Bill Murray. I was happy to see Dan Aykroyd. But the two things I walked away from is it's too serious. And man, I wish that they did a movie 20 years ago when these guys were a little bit younger, because they're grandpas now.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
So I am more on the negative side, I guess. For once or twice when we do our stream. Normally, I feel I tend to be more.
I don't think you're.
Pollyanna.
I'm not going to defend myself here.
So I'm happy that you're cautiously optimistic, because maybe I can kind of hang on to that and look forward to seeing this. I'm still going to see it. I just feel like the script is always based on what I've seen from Afterlife. It's going to be too serious, and I want to laugh.
I think you're 100% right. Actually, you've actually tempered my limited enthusiasm, because you're right. That was something drastically missing about Afterlife, and it's not Afterlife specifically. It's all of Hollywood. It's become so self-serious. They're incapable of being silly anymore. I think you're 100% correct, and it's one of the reasons why I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once so much, is because it was so silly. It embraced the silliness, and that's so rare to see in a modern American Hollywood movie. And you're right, Afterlife was definitely guilty of suffering from a complete lack of funny bone. It did capture all the nostalgia, but it captured all the nostalgia without. You're right, like the one step above an SNL sketch. I think that's like a brilliant descriptor. Afterlife took itself very seriously, which for a movie called Ghostbusters seems like a really stupid idea.
See, now here's the thing. I have no proof that this actually happened when they were making Ghostbusters 1 and 2, but can you imagine, like, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd huddled around the writers, or huddled around even on the set, and going, oh, well, what about this? What if I said the line like this? Or what about this line? And they actually would just improv, even writing. I mean, I just got that energy and sense when I watched the first two, with that energy.
I'm certain that's the case. I mean, Murray is a notorious improviser, like to the detriment of directors for generations. And Dan Aykroyd is a brilliant comedic mind. So the idea that they had some sort of finished script and they didn't change a single word of the whole way through that's just not realistic. But yeah, you watch Afterlife and you're like, yeah, the actors said every single line exactly as written on the page. Like there was no improv. I mean, maybe a line or two here from Paul Rudd because he can't help himself.
Yeah.
And because like no one is going to say no to Paul Rudd. But yeah, you're right. I think that also was a big distinction between, and I think, and it for as much as I lambast the 2016 Ghostbusters, and I do maintain that it was a bad movie, in that sense, though, it was much more in line with the original films because there was definitely a lot of improv going on there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't the fault of the performers. It was ultimately a fault of just the way it all came together. It was like weird choices, like not bringing Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson back as their original characters.
Yeah, that was a weird choice.
Really weird choice. Yeah. The Chris Hemsworth playing the dumb character, it's not what Chris Hemsworth can do. He wasn't funny, and he is capable of comedy. I mean, like the stuff that he's done in Thor is legitimately funny, but he was not funny at all in the remake, and the plot line was just incomprehensible, and that may have actually been because wasn't it Adam McKay who did that one too?
Yeah, that's the other thing. It was oozing with talent,
right? And I think that like what worked for Anchorman doesn't work for Ghostbusters, right? And I get the sense that he kind of did what he did with Anchorman, which is just like turn the camera on and let these amazing improvisers just improv. And
that's interesting. It's an interesting point. You're if that's really true, then I would have thought that would have been much more like because that's closer to me.
Yeah.
That recipe has all the ingredients that I would want from a Ghostbusters movie, and they had it.
Yeah.
So why is it that it didn't?
Because I think it went too far. I think like the Ghostbusters walked that fine line between having a script that they could fall back on, but then having performers who are able to improvise in the moment, like Rick Moranis and everybody were just they're all like they got started in Second City and
yeah.
I mean everybody came kind of from an improv background, even if they didn't come from an improv background. They were all famously good improvisers, and I think that so the original movie did a really good job of straddling that line, and I think the 2016 movie went too far in the we're just going to let these great performers be silly, right? And it sort of lost the larger thread of what Ghostbusters could be. And then, again, they made some weird choices in terms of what the general plot was supposed to be, bringing back other characters, that kind of, or other performers in different character roles and that kind of thing. And then Afterlife, while it really traded heavily on the nostalgia and it captured sort of the the themes of the original films, it didn't have the silliness component to it. It was very much, kind of assembly line, standard modern day Hollywood where everything is hyper desaturated. And that's the other thing. The 2016 movie looked great. I loved all the colors and all this. I mean, it was beautiful to look at, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Afterlife was just a typical like bland, desaturated. No one did any sort of color correction on anything. They just used the default settings on whatever digital camera they were using. and so, I think that's what it is. I mean, I feel like the original movie, it walked the line, and I think the 2016 movie went too far in one direction, and Afterlife went too far in the other direction, right? I mean, that is my long, rambly... I can't believe that we just spent 15 minutes, almost 20 minutes talking about Ghostbusters. I was going to bring up Helldivers too, and then we spent 20 minutes talking about Ghostbusters.
We're not. Well, it's Ghostbusters, so we need to spend some time on. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I think Ghostbusters hold that special spot in a lot of people's hearts, and they want to. Again, I think they're like you and me. They want to see something cool. And I'm just happy that they're doing something with it, and it's better than. I mean, it is. Again, Afterlife isn't terrible. It's just. What didn't scratch didn't scratch that itch that I wanted from the 80s Ghostbusters. And I don't think anything ever will. I think that magic in a bottle will never, you just have to enjoy it for what they are and try to just watch Afterlife and Frozen Empire for what they're going to be. But I just don't think ultimately they're not going to match up with the OG Ghostbusters. I don't think it ever will. It's just the energy, the chemistry, just the facial expression, just everything, the comedic timing of Bill Murray bouncing off the cast. It just was so. I mean, I can watch right now and still laugh out loud with no force because it's just naturally a funny show. But I mean, if we want to move on, I'm completely happy talking about more Ghostbusters if you want. But I do want to bring up. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the trailer for Furiosa.
I
George Miller's
have,
view.
and
Now that's why I want to get your opinion on this one.
Okay, I don't think it's a mystery that Mad Max Fury Road is one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. I mean,
Sure.
whenever I'm in a grumpy mood, I immediately. I mean, Fury Road and Inglourious Bastards and Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, those are the 3 movies that I go to when I just need to have like a comfort movie viewing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it should, it's not a surprise that when I heard Miller was doing a Furiosa movie, I mean, like Charlize Theron. I mean, I was so excited. But then I heard it was a prequel and that they cast Anya Taylor-Joy in the role of Furiosa, and I'm like, damn. Because she and Zendaya are my 2 least favorite female performers in Hollywood right now. And we spoke about Zendaya vis-a-vis Dune 2 last week. And
we didn't put a bookmark on this because I want to talk about Zendaya too.
Okay.
But anyways, we'll keep going with what you're going here first.
And ironically, and I did love Dune 2, this is a minor spoiler, but Anya Taylor-Joy plays, the Atreides, the younger sister. And I'm like, oh, really? When she showed up, I was like, oh, come on, man.
Oh, Eric's loved the casting in this one. Man. Yeah.
And so when I heard that she was cast, I was like, damn, that's a bummer. And I don't know. It's nothing, like, it's a personal thing, right? Like, I don't speak for everybody. I don't, for whatever it is, I don't like her, the way she delivers lines. I don't like, she just doesn't, like, you watch Charlize Theron and you go, like, yes, like, she's just got this, like, gusto. She's got this, like, willpower, this force that it's effortless, right? I mean, I could watch her do anything and be impressed. Like, she's one of my favorite actors. I love Charlize Theron.
Yep. Preaching to the choir here. I agree with you 100% on that.
And Anya Taylor-Joy isn't like 10% of what Charlize Theron is.
Oh, man.
Not even 10 for me. I mean, I'm speaking for me,
Yeah, I get it.
And so when I see her show up on screen as Furiosa, I'm like, nope, that's
wow, that's your that's your visceral reaction.
That was my visceral reaction. It was like, nope, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me.
And this is George Miller's name is plastered all over this. The guy that's
George Miller wrote and directed it, and I love George Miller. I think he's an amazing director. But the entire movie hangs on Anya Taylor-Joy, and her, like, when she says the line, "I am Furiosa," I'm like, no. If Charlize Theron had said that line, I would have believed it, but you're not.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth was amazing. I think he's going to be an amazing villain. The guy that they got to reprise Immortan Joe, he great. I couldn't, it's like great. He seems like he's doing a good job. He was only very in the movie briefly anyway. But yeah, I mean, the movie isn't about Immortan Joe. It isn't about Chris Hemsworth character. It's about Furiosa. And the second Anya Taylor-Joy showed up on screen, I was like, I'm out. She is one of my least favorite actors working in Hollywood today. And everybody loves her, and I get it. It's like, she's my Resident Evil 4. Everybody loves Resident Evil 4 but me, And I just, it's just, I don't like her. I can't put my finger on it. I think some of it has to do with the way that she delivers her lines. Some of it has to do with her facial expressions. Some of it, I mean, frankly, like, I look at Charlize Theron and I'm like, yeah, like, she could beat up a fucking MMA fighter. Like, I look at her and, like, yeah, you're a badass.
Yeah. That's true. Mm-hmm.
I look at Anya Taylor-Joy, I don't get that same response, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that, that's what it is. And it's so biased, right? This is such a personal thing. It's not there's no objectivity here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, but that's the beauty of art, where it is subjective, and this is your again visceral reaction to that trailer. I was really curious. Like, I gotta ask Eric about this one because. Okay, so we when so Mika and I went to go see Dune 2 over the weekend, and so we watched the spectacle that it was. Out of the two, I think it's interesting. They're both good. I happen to like the first one more because it just had more resonance as far as the visuals to me. Like some of the set pieces and some of the shots were just so like I can still remember them now, and I can tell you like maybe one shot in part two that was memorable, which was that giant robot dropping the spice collector down. Like that was an amazing shot. But other than that, because of the nature of the film, it was all action oriented. It felt like, and so you didn't really have to look at vistas and stuff like that. You didn't. There were some great shots still in it, but didn't have the same visual resonance as the first one did for me. So I kind of lean towards the first one, even though some people would say it's more boring than the second one. I still, if I was to choose out of the two, I'd probably want to watch the first one again. Now, here's where we are famous for never sticking to our guns and flipping our.
Oh yeah, we're horrible hypocrites.
We're
horrible hypocrites.
Gosh, we're hypocrites.
I absolutely 100% embrace my status as a hypocrite.
Yeah. Yes. So with all that being said, like one thing I carried in going into Dune Part 2 was, okay, is Zendaya, because from our stream, the key word I remember was you were saying Zendaya was disaffected.
Disaffected.
Yeah, that was the key word.
So I get from her.
So you because of that, you were pretty much sitting next to me going disaffected every time I saw Zendaya. Is she disaffected? Is she disaffected? And this is one of those this is one of those times when we debate or whatever. But man, she did a great job for the line she had.
Okay,
she was not And so I happen to disagree with you on Zendaya. I thought she did.
That's fair.
Did a great job. I mean, is she going to get an Oscar for Dune Part 2? Probably not. I don't think it's going to be anything like that.
Yeah.
But considering the lines that she was given, like, I don't really, at least for me, I felt like they were falling in love. Like all those little exchanges. I thought she was doing great with just her first facial expressions and what's his name? The main actor.
Timothy Chalamet, America's Sweetheart. Come on, how can you
America's
forget
Sweetheart,
his name? Yeah.
I know, because I am not enamored with him the same way that Zendaya convinced me that she was enamored with him.
He was perfectly adequate as Paul Atreides. I mean, he was better than Kyle MacLachlan, and I love Kyle MacLachlan, okay? Yeah. But, man, like, the bar was really low. I need
to watch the original again. Eventually I find time to do that, because there's some questions I have, which is, again, we can set that aside, but just focusing on, at least for me, talking about Zendaya, I thought she was fine.
Yeah.
I happen to disagree with that, and I thought that she had some great moments where she was doing her acting chops, and she did fine. Now, with Anya Taylor-Joy, with this trailer, I am with you. Like, this is where I am in agreement with you. I am a little bit worried about it myself. I am spoiled by Theron's acting. She gave us Furiosa, and it's just weird to see somebody else play her. Even if she's younger, it doesn't matter. I mean, Charlize Theron set the bar so high for Furiosa that now I just don't know Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah, it was one of my biggest disappointments. When I heard Miller was doing a Furiosa movie, I was like, oh, thank God, more Charlize Theron, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, instantly, I'm there. I don't even care. I'm there. And then when it, again, it was a prequel, I was like, oh, damn. Okay, well, I guess it could be good depending on who he casts. And then he cast Anya Taylor-Joy, and I'm like, damn.
See, now here's the thing. It's a mixed bag. I mean, I don't think I have as much revulsion towards Anya Taylor-Joy as much as you do. I don't know if that's the right word.
Not the right word.
But what would be the right word?
Maybe revulsion's the right word. Anyway, go
anyway, so your reaction, I don't have the same reaction, annoyed reaction seeing her being cast. I don't have that.
Yeah.
Because I've seen enough. I am a fan of her because I saw her in Split, and I thought she was great in Split. But I mean, she was younger then. I was like, what's that? 10, 12-year-old movie now? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like one of her first roles. But she was terrific in that. So I always, for that reason, I always give her more leeway because I know I want to see more of that. I watched Queen's Gambit, and I thought she did okay in that, but
Queen's Gambit was not for me personally.
Yeah, I totally get that too. I mean, I watched it and I just enjoy chess anyway, so I was able to hang on to that.
Yeah. Queen's Gambit, me not enjoying it had nothing to do with Anya Taylor-Joy. I just do not like chess at all. It was really hard for me to get into it. Like the stakes were so impossibly low for me because I don't care at all. Right. Okay. Yeah. If you don't have any feeling at all for chess at all, I mean. Yeah, exactly. It just was, but no. I mean, the first thing I saw Anya Taylor-Joy in was The Witch, right? which was, phenomenal. I love that movie. I love what Dave Eggers does. And I'm an unabashed fan of his stuff. Even The Northman, right, which was kind of a middling movie. I appreciate what he was doing there, and I think the biggest flaw of that movie was him not leaning into what he's so good at, which is creating these like truly representative pieces of fiction of the time period that they're in, right? Like The Witch, they spoke in practically Middle English,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the fact that The Northman was in English as opposed to, I actually don't know what language they would have been speaking in that time period. It actually kind of hurt the thing, the movie, and the fact that he shied away from nudity so much was like, no, if they were naked in this space, then they should have been naked in this space. And anyway, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she was fine. She was fine in that. But the movie wasn't about her. Honestly, it was about sort of a larger. It was about sort of the time period and the nature of the paranoia around witchcraft, and and so she was, yes, you could argue the protagonist of that movie, but I think that the movie was about more than her.
Mm-hmm.
And so she sort of fit into the weirdness of that space really well. I thought she was fine in Split.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think she was bad. I think she was good. I think she was serviceable in that. I mean, I've seen most of the things that she's done. Last Night in Soho, she was good in it. She was not my least favorite part of that movie. And I famously did not like that movie, even though I love Edgar Wright. And Queen's Gambit just wasn't my jam.
What about the menu?
I did really like the menu. She was my least favorite part of the menu.
Yeah, I don't think she had much. Again, but this is what does it come down to? Is it the writing? Because I don't think she had much to work with in that.
I mean, I thought the writing was phenomenal. I think it was Nick Holt and Ralph Fiennes was just amazing. And John Leguizamo. Oh my god! I mean, I loved
but John Leguizamo, to me, I love using this term, cheat code. You put him in anything,
oh, I know.
And it just makes it respectable.
I mean, what was it? Violent Night with David Harbour. I mean, the way he chewed up the scenery as a villain, he knew what the role needed, and he made the movie so much better by just diving into the ridiculousness of the villain that he was playing.
I haven't seen that yet. I eventually will go. I will see that movie.
It is a riot.
This is just me being completely snobbish, but because I read Lobo's paramilitary Christmas in the 80s, I refuse to see anything else that has violent Santa Claus because Lobo did it first. It's completely irrational, and that's why I haven't seen it yet. But John Leguizamo, when he was in Spawn, as the clown,
he was the best part of that movie.
Yes, he was.
No questions.
And that's what told me that he's arrived. He can pretty much do anything. So,
but
you have a terrible movie, put him in it, and make it
makes it a little bit better because he's in it. But no, I mean, I love The Menu. I thought it was a great movie, but it wasn't because of her. I thought the script was phenomenal. I thought Nick Holt was phenomenal. I thought Ralph Fiennes was phenomenal. I thought John Leguizamo was phenomenal. But ultimately, she was the victor of the movie, and I never really felt like she earned it. Right? I don't know what it is. And again, this is just purely the way I interpret her performances. I don't feel like there's ever any weight or actual belief in the lines that she's delivering, right? In the trailer for Furiosa, when she says, "I am Furiosa," I didn't believe it. In the menu, when she asked for the cheeseburger, I didn't really feel like she meant it. I don't really feel like she means any of the lines that she's saying.
Huh.
I don't know. It's such a weird thing to say, but that's my... So whereas, Zendaya always, to me at least, feels completely disaffected and uninterested, I get the same vibe off of Anya Taylor-Joy. And that's again, it's totally subjective. It's not a commentary on their performances writ large. It's just the way that my brain processes things. That's just the way they come across to me. And as a result, anytime I see them in anything, I'm like, ugh, okay, well, I know the way I'm going to interpret this, even if I am wrong, and I'm just gonna have to get through it, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the case. Like everybody has that one performer that everybody loves. Like I've known people who's like, "Oh, Tom Hanks, I hate that guy." I'm like, "Really? You hate Tom Hanks?" Like okay.
That's like eating apple pie kind of
right,
thing,
I know.
right?
It's just like, how do you hate Tom Hanks? Like
weird.
that's just really weird, So
Yeah.
but it's a very personal thing.
Yeah, that one's yeah. You know what? Though in the age of internet, there's always something to hate.
Oh
something
yeah,
to like, I guess.
it's a bottomless pit of hate.
Yeah, yeah. But I was just curious to see what you thought about that trailer. Yeah, I will see it because obviously George Miller, everything he's done, I've enjoyed. So
Yeah,
I'll give it. He's given us some great movies, so I trust him.
I think the pinnacle of career obviously was Babe, Pig in the City, or no, just Babe. Pig in the City was the sequel.
Yeah.
Which honestly is not a bad movie. I mean, it really is not a bad movie. And it gave us that iconic line, "That'll do, pig. That'll do." James Cromwell bringing it home, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, terrific movie. I think did he win? He was nominated for an Oscar, or he won an Oscar for that role. I thought.
I don't remember.
I could be wrong.
I mean, like, I guess it's apropos given that the Oscars were last night, but I could not care less enough about narcissists congratulating themselves, right? Like it is so uninteresting to me.
I just enjoy the pomp and circumstance and the spectacle of it all, and also I think it also helps that I live in LA, so it is kind of in the air a little bit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think when you used to live here, did you ever pay attention to the Oscars? Even then, you were able to insulate yourself, or
I was at
the
time I was married, and my ex-wife really loved watching the Oscars, so I watched it with her. But I would argue that at around that time I was more invested in them than I have become. But yeah, I mean, I never really cared that much.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Because again, it is subjective. It's just like even our topic tonight about Zendaya, and it is subjective. And so these people that win, really, because I was doing that a lot. Like, really, Oppenheimer won again.
Yeah.
Over this movie.
Yeah.
Over four things on this one. Come on.
I liked Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer. I did not 8 Academy Awards
it's
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, I'm glad. I mean, who else was going to win it? I'm glad Godzilla -1 at least walked away with best visual effects, but
it deserved it.
There was no real competition. Like Marvel's movies, no one is going to give them an Academy Award for best special effects.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. There's a lot of work goes into those, but I know it's kind of sad. But Godzilla, I was probably one of the few awards I agreed with. I was like, yeah, they got that one right.
Yeah.
Great movie. I wish it would have been at least nominated for other stuff, but whatever. Again, this is where it goes subjective, and
I will say their choice of Emma Stone for Best Actress was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. I mean, I really loved her in Poor Things, so I thought that was a really good choice. I don't even know who won Best Actor.
Yeah.
It was Cillian Murphy. Cillian Murphy won for Oppenheimer.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good actor, but I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I don't actually care because it's mostly just narcissists congratulating themselves.
Yeah.
But I get it. I mean, I remember being in LA and you kind of get caught up in that vibe. I mean, I lived in North Hollywood. Mm-hmm. We were a 20-minute drive from the theater where they do the Oscars. I don't remember what it's called right now. So, I mean, we were just a stone's throw away from where it was all going down. And you can't help yourself. You get into that vibe a little bit, right? You're right. There's a buzz in the air that weekend. Because that whole city is Hollywood, right? I mean, the whole city revolves around that industry in some context.
Yeah. So, I mean, for that alone, it was kind of fun to kind of pay attention to it. But you know what's funny is I haven't really paid attention to the Oscars before that. Like, last year I didn't watch it. The year before I didn't really watch it. But for some reason I decided to watch it this year. Maybe it was Jimmy Kimmel for some reason, even though I find him funny sometimes. I don't know what it was. We just happened to watch it here, Meet and I, and Yeah, just had kind of in the background, just kind of was reading other random stuff while I was on. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, um, yeah. Overall,
I don't
just
even know.
entertaining.
I guess one of my streaming platforms probably was simul broadcasting the Oscars, but I didn't. I
Mm-hmm.
was too busy doing other things.
Yeah.
Honestly, until like I checked my news aggregator this morning, I had completely forgotten that the Oscars were yesterday. So,
Mm-hmm.
but but yeah, I have no more. I have nothing else to contribute in terms of the Oscars. Like because I just I only knew like three things that happened.
Yeah, but I mean, we got our main stuff out of the way, which was talking about Zendaya and Anya Taylor Joy.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's good. I'm in a good spot here for Calamity doing her stuff.
Well, this
The
is
movie,
one of the reasons why we do this podcast. Though, when I started it today, I had no idea that we were going to spend 40 minutes talking about two movie trailers.
I know because we want to. I know you wanted to talk
I
about
wanted to
Helldivers.
talk
You're
about
raving
Helldivers
about
2,
that
and we're
game.
just going to have to wait for next week to talk about Helldivers
Yeah,
2.
yeah, it'll still be there. I know. It's from everything I've heard on the internets. It's a really popular game. I mean, and if you like it, then I know it's going to be a good game.
It's really good, dude. It's
I
really
know
good.
it's dangerous. Because that means if you're saying it's really good, that means that's a 300-hour game for me that
Yep.
you're gonna find time to play. I
I'm
don't know about
starting.
that.
I've started to playing this game. I'm like, oh man, this is
Yeah,
this
that's
is
a
gonna
bad
go
sign.
on for a while.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about that next week for
We can
sure.
talk
I
about
mean,
that
I
next
want to,
week. Yeah.
and I'm stumped. I am actually stumped on Persona 5 Royal on this particular boss, and I actually had to look up hints on the
Really,
internet. And a lot of people hate this boss. Apparently,
really
it feels like it's a make or break moment for the game. So this is my first negative reaction to the game. Is right now with this boss. It's really a cheap boss, but that's
interesting. All
a
right.
whole
Well,
other combo.
so Helldivers 2 and Persona 5 Royal next week. I still need
Yeah.
to get back into Persona 5 Royal. The obsession with the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise is finally abated for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just in time for me to like plug back in my Wii U and my 3DS. Like I plugged everything back in,
Oh, jeez.
and then I finally
Yeah.
move on. I did put like another 10 hours into Xenoblade Chronicles 2 at least after I
Oh,
finished
nice.
3, but
Nice.
I didn't get around to like revisiting the other ones. But yeah, I guess if you're ready to call it a night, we'll put off Helldivers and talk for
Yeah.
next week.
So just to recap, we had the
Yeah,
sketch here of
let's
the
take a look.
animatic, and this is what it looked like. Now the only thing I haven't done is the effects, but these effects will come in post, and when
Mm-hmm.
we're pretty much done with the picture. But yeah, so the rough sketch is this, and this is pretty much rough to final animation. I mean, I might go back to it, but this is enough for us to have and for me to keep moving forward. I think at this
Okay.
point tonight. Um, yeah, so she enters frame and looks over, and then that's who's going to come in. So, and most of this was like all of this was done with just our library of assets here, so I could just recycle stuff, and then it saves me some time drawing, and I was able to kind of pretty much crank out the scene during our talk tonight about movie trailers. So I love when that happens.
Perfect. A plan came together. Um, so we'll wrap up here. You can head on over to calamityjane.rocks. That'll take you to our Patreon site. Please consider subscribing and helping us make this cartoon a reality. If we have a little bit of money, we might actually be able to make it happen faster. And I know everybody wants that to be the case because it'll shut us up sooner. Um, you can also find us on YouTube and Facebook, which presumably you already have because you're watching this video. We are also on Instagram at Calamity Jane Salamander. We post pretty regularly there, just some concept arts, like fun stuff. You get a little bit of insight into the nature of where the characters come from and that kind of stuff. So check that out. I like it. I enjoy posting it and updating that. Anyway, we will be back next week at the usual time. And until then, stay safe out there, everybody. Good night.